Well, today is the last day of the ANC Stalwarts National Conference, a consultative conference, but there are questions around what the impact the conference resolutions will have on the ANC. Former President Mbeki is speaking there. Let's go live.
We want that to happen. Now, before I go further, let me say thank you very much indeed to everybody for coming. We have here, as has been said earlier, many leaders of the ANC, as we have many leaders of the South African Communist Party, of COSATU, of SANCO, of civil society. I was very struck when Faisal Randera on Friday mentioned the number of civil society organizations that participated in that discussion on Friday. It was over 60. Now what I'm trying to say, comrades, is that here you have therefore concentrated over 3 days a large section of the leadership of the people of South Africa. But the National Executive Committee, I think, has done itself and the African National Congress and the rest of the African National Congress a great disservice by disassociating itself from this leadership which has been gathered here for 3 days. That obviously cannot be correct. It was a wrong decision. And I trust that there must surely still be people within the National Executive Committee of the ANC who can think. And to think must surely be. One must come to the conclusion that there is no way that the African National Congress can distance itself from this leadership which has gathered here for the last 3 days. We clearly have had very important discussions relating to matters of policy. Economic policy, constitution, civil society, all of these things. And I'm very glad that the chairs have permitted that we should also make our inputs in terms of those documents. Because indeed I think we will need to do that so as to make sure that what finally comes out of the National Consultative Conference enjoys the sort of credibility that everything that comes out of here must have. So I do hope that indeed we will all of us intervene to contribute to each one of these documents, so that indeed, as I was saying, when in the end, as Portia was saying, when all these documents are issued, we will have made those inputs. We were whispering together with Comrade Khalima here at some point that part of some of the suggestions that the comrades were making, for instance, reflect what he described as insufficient institutional memory. And you could tell. So I'm really mentioning that to say that I really do appeal that all of us should give ourselves time to go through these documents and make such inputs as may be necessary, because those policy positions are necessary. But essentially, comrades, I think the Stalwarts and Veterans and MK Council decided on this National Consultative Conference not so much to discuss policy, but to deal with what one of the lady comrades there talked was the elephant in the room. She discovered many elephants. Mike Roussos said earlier when we were discussing the report on organizational renewal that really what we're dealing with is a rot that has infested the organization as a whole. This thing about access to state power for self-enrichment has affected us at local level, provincial, national, and so on. And therefore, that even this matter of dealing with what's gone wrong with the ANC, we need to take a comprehensive view about it and not just think that targeting one person or two or three is going to solve our problem. So it's clear that the ANC has been captured by a dominant faction, which in fact is not ANC. In its values, in terms of its values, in terms of what it does from day to day. You know, wake up in the morning and you see a report, money that should have gone into some municipality has been stolen. That can't be ANC. It's not. And many, many of these wrong things. The discussion about the alliance, I agree there should be a discussion about the alliance, but one of the comrades spoke and then from the Lutuli detachment. We used to call him Peter Mfel. And he raised a very important point and said, comrades, we need to understand the history of the alliance. Where does this thing come from? Indeed, it didn't come from, there was no committee that said, let there be an alliance. That's resolution number 1. The alliance is born out of the objective nature of oppression and exploitation in this country. And that's why it was possible, you didn't need a committee to sit. For the ANC, the Communist Party, the trade unions to say we are faced with a common struggle, let's act together. Now, I think it should not be a very easy thing for us to say the need for that joint action to achieve this. There's incomplete work. We speak of a national democratic revolution, and I hope we don't just use that as a slogan, but know exactly what it is that we mean when we talk about that revolution. And then we can come to the decision whether, in pursuit of these objectives which have not yet been achieved, do we need an alliance or we don't? But I'm saying, comrades, in the end, we have to attend to this matter. What do we do to liberate the ANC from the clutches of a dominant group, which is in fact not ANC? We are going to be listening, obviously, to a declaration which hopefully will indicate what it is the National Consultative Conference has decided to do. It's important, I think the point that has again been made, it's important that once we've approved of that declaration, we must indeed then obviously act to make sure that it is communicated to all ANC members. I think the point that was made by one of the comrades, that from here, let's go back to the provinces and interact with these ANC comrades to say, this is what the NCC says. It's going to be necessary for us to communicate with the broad movement about the outcomes of the NCC, as well as the population as a whole. Because indeed, my own sense is that our people in general are looking forward to hear what this NCC is going to say. Because the things that have gone wrong in the ANC are impacting very negatively on every one of our people individually. So I'm saying the population is interested in a solution of these problems, not as a matter of philosophy, but because it has to do practically with their daily lives. So So I'm hoping that that declaration will indicate what it is that we need to do in order to live up certainly to the expectations of the population. And I think, comrades, finally, I hope the leader, the comrades who have organized and convened us and so on, will discuss the matter of continuation. Because to adopt the decisions that we will adopt will not be sufficient. We've got to pursue the matter of how do we make those decisions impact